Just one dark day this week, and that means the bright lights here at Gulfstream West are on a Tuesday. It's a rare thing, but a good thing, as Jason Blewett and Ron Nicoletti catch up with you live on a very rare Tuesday edition of Gulfstream West Today.
6-day week this week, and we'll end it on Sunday, so it should be a lot of fun. And Tuesday, I hope you're out there listening to us, or you're right here at Gulfstream Park West betting on some things. And of course down at Gulfstream Park, the best simulcast center in the world. Don't say the world.
The world sounds good.
Yes, sounds good.
Our Silk simulcasting parlor, undoubtedly state-of-the-art over in Hallandale Beach at Gulfstream Park. And Gulfstream Park certainly becomes part of the conversation when you consider this is the penultimate week of racing this fall here at GPW. And when you count today and this 6-day racing week that's on the horizon, only got 9 cards remaining before Gulfstream Park opens up its admission gates for championship meet on Saturday, December 2nd, and that is really great.
Yeah, really great. So knocking on the door and means one thing, Thanksgiving's in the near future, and of course opening day, December 2nd with the Claiming Crown. Always a fantastic day of racing, so lots to look forward to, not only this week, but in the future when the championship meet opens up.
And if you watch the show on a regular basis, you know now is the time. We just do a little housekeeping and get you up to speed. And it's good to have you with us, everybody, on a Tuesday here at GPW. Now, we have our first super high in race number 1 today, and a carryover of about $1,600. That'll obviously coincide with the first of 2 pick 5s, and I'll be giving out a ticket in just a few moments. A bit later on and a little earlier than usual, race number 3, we chase the Rainbow.
Rainbow 6, over $22,000 in that pool. Races 3 through 8. I'll have a ticket in just a couple of moments. And, of course, we end the day with that final pick 5, late pick 5, 50-cent wagers. So compact but exciting day of racing.
And we'll see a number of the top riders here in South Florida competing on this 8-race program that begins a little after 12:35. Day number 32, folks. So let's get them going, and that includes the first pick 5 as we start the weekend at 6 consecutive racing cards with a 2 lifetime $12,500 claimer. I went 2 deep in race number 1, Mr. Ronnie. I used Edgar Zayas' horse, who you have on top, Thuristic, and I like for potentially in the win end of things, the number 2 Stay in Cruise, who has Amisael Jaramillo, who, by the way, 39 wins here at the meet. He's your number 1 jock heading into the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, he's just a couple ahead of Edgar Zayas, who had a fantastic day on Saturday, winning 3 stakes. So I agree with you with the second race with Non-Such on top. Beaten favorite in 6 consecutive races. Boy, can you trust him?
That's the whole thing. He's had a lot of chances, and he has burned a ton of money. I mean, we're talking a fleet of Brinks trucks. However, that is a good spot for him to finally get that elusive maiden diploma. I think Power Jack, and I have my eye on Erotic Kiss today. I feel one of those 2 is going to win race number 3, and Ronnie indeed has them 1-2. As far as the 4th, that is a good-looking 2-year-old maiden special weight, and I think it comes down to whether the 2 who you picked on top, Daring Ego, if he's set to go, he's probably going to win.
Yeah, and you also I see you use Cotton too, and I thought that was a logical contender. There was stepping up to face maiden special weight today, but I thought you had the logical 2 in that race.
And the 5th is just a great turf sprint any way you slice it, and I know that's a race that features, as I go 4 deep in there, that's the kind of race it is to me, but I know your best bet is in that race for Mark Cassidy.
Yeah, I'm going to try and upset the apple cart a little bit, beat Pletcher in there with the number 5 Sound Defense.
Right, and you have Pletcher, Clement with horses in there. You're really starting to get a feeling now. Christoph and Todd have been running horses over the last week and change here at GPW, but even looking ahead, Thursday's nightcap features Jeremiah Engelhardt and his first starter over the last 5 years at Gulfstream West. I don't know if he's ever started a horse at Gulfstream Park West, and he's yet another young trainer, certainly an up-and-comer who will have horses with us throughout the winter here in South Florida. So let's get to it, Ronnie. The first race, and they've got to get around our top pick, the number 6 Thuristic, coming out of a tough loss, and we'll show you the race just at the start of the month, just a couple of weeks ago on November 1st. This horse, beaten as the 5-2 favorite, man, did he get a good ride and had some good racing luck beneath Edgar Zayas, as Edgar held firm and held fast down on the fence. And in those white blinkers, you'll see the number 6 Thoristic, who on this day was the number 3, put in that prolonged run. And, you know, if we can just stop it there, here he is. You can see that white shadow roll just kind of getting in the picture down there. Races, for the most part, Ronnie, move outside. It just seems like horses, when they're able to, closers and stalkers, when they can make that unencumbered move outside, they seem to pick up the momentum, whereas Thoristic, not that he had a bad trip, he was able to save ground, but just having to get down there and try to grind away, skimming the fence, that's always a tough thing to do.
Tough thing to do, and I think he was a little against the bias on that particular afternoon. I thought it was a great performance. That's the reason. Putting him on top and Edgar Zayas in the saddle, and I don't think the horse has to be that far back this afternoon to succeed in this particular spot.
And Edgar's got 34 wins at the meet. He's your defending Gulfstream Park West jockey title champion, if you will, for this 40-day fall meet. We'll see if he can bridge the gap. I do want to give a pop to the 2 Stay and Cruise, who's not a dirt horse, so I don't care about his last race. And I'm wondering if he's a little dirtied up. He didn't run well for Peter Walder off the claim back on August 20th over at Gulfstream. If you recall, though, that was a time Peter was in a bit of a funk on a cold streak. I really feel that horse has a sneaky, dangerous look to him. For second, Ronnie, you have the old 6-8. That is Sunset Catch, as you get Misael, Edgard, and Tyler in the same race.
Yeah, Sunset Catch turning back to a mile on the turf after a pair really solid performances, a mile in the 16th. And we have second on the turf, 2 starts back. And then he comes back and he crushes him, a 6-length score victory, moved from the lawn to the main track. So this horse, I think, can run well in this spot. And you're mentioning basically our top 3 jockeys battling it out to the wire in the opening race.
Good stuff. Field of 8, and of course David Fox does have 2 on the outside. Your top pick, and he also sends out the number 9 Could Be, who should be an okay price.
And one other note, if the 7 horse should win, Timmy Hills will get his 2,000th victory this year. So good luck to Timmy Hills.
And a great guy.
Great guy.
Top trainer, very good horseman who obviously may not send out the numbers he once did even a decade ago, but he's a real talented horseman and a terrific, terrific person, and that certainly speaks volumes. As we get on to race number 2, and in joking about the number 1 Nonsuch, burning, blowing up a whole fleet of Brinks money trucks. I mean, he's lost at 2-1, 6-5, 8-5, 9-5, 9-5, and most recently at 4-5. So you go, well, you guys both picked him on top. What changes potentially today and optimistically today is the fact that he is in for the $35,000.
He's in for the $35,000 to add in the blinkers back. He stalked the pace, and you mentioned all the horses that he seems to weaken. Seems to weaken. Jose Pinchin, MCL Jaramillo. Turn back also to 5 furlongs, I think is another plus for this horse. You singled him. I don't know if I would have had the nerve to do that, but he's absolutely the one to beat.
And you had mentioned Cotton 2, who was one of a couple that I used in the early pick 5 in leg number 4, race number 4. This horse, Nonsuch, is coming out of that maiden 50, and I know he's going to be likely a big favorite unless the Service Firster is pounded on the board. That race that he's coming out of was like a maiden special weight. I really feel that maiden 50, that Nonsuch, and later on Cotton 2 are exiting, is a race to keep an eye on. Now, speaking of the Service Firster, you have one of the best barns on the East Coast who seems to win with all types of horses, the 5 American Power.
Yeah, this one is the Son of Power, broker debut for, as you mentioned, Jason Service. 7 morning workouts showing, including a pair of half-mile drills up at Palm Meadows. Want to show you a stat on Jason Service. 2-year-old first-time starters in the maiden claiming ranks on the dirt. He's 4 for 15, 27%. He doesn't do it a lot, but boy, does he do it well. 60% in the money and still a positive return of investment. And we show this stat. You know how good Jason Service is. If you're not, you're aware of it now. And I think this horse, first-time starter, has a big shot in here if Nonsuch does what it does again.
Yeah. If Nonsuch comes up a little empty or maybe a little gun-shy and he's not willing to throw that knockout punch at crunch time, American Power, no reason to think he's not live today in race number 2. And you talk about a barn as we send it to break who wins with young, old, turf, dirt, short, long. Jason Service and his crew, a barn in operation that does it all. Just like the man next to me, folks. We'll chase the rainbow with Ronnie on this Tuesday here at Gulfstream West on the other side of this quick timeout.
At ExpressBet, we celebrate the champions that make horse racing great. That's why we provide more ways to bet from more places than ever. We've built an entire family of brands to give players more of the rewards they deserve. Give bettors the information they need to win and provide a community for horse bettors. Because the best way to support the champions of horse racing is to champion horse racing. Express Bet. We are racing.
The Pegasus World Cup Invitational is January 27th at Gulfstream Park, and that weekend we have something new, the Pegasus World Cup Betting Championship. I'm lucky to be joined enough by two guys who will be playing in this tournament, including
Ray Arsenault, defending NEC champion.
And
Hi, Acacia. I'm Ross Gallo. I'm a 13-time NHC qualifier and also a member of the NTRA Players Committee.
we're so excited for it. Join us here at Gulfstream Park. $500,000 expected pool, no entry fee if played on site. This is for the players.
Just about 2.5 months out from that Pegasus $16 million World Cup Invitational and that two-day Pegasus handicapping contest. You can sign up over at GulfstreamPark.com. Check out the website as well as Ron and Jason give you a hearty welcome back on a very rare Tuesday edition of Gulfstream West Today. Carryover has started to pick up a little steam and traction, and what are we doing today?
I got a $32.40 ticket, and you see we talked about Power Jack and Erotic Kiss. We're going to show you Erotic Kiss's troubled performance last time out, but you see in race 5, which we talked about, Sound Defense, consistent daughter of First Defense, 5 furlong turf specialist. Here was my thought process. Going to go as soon as they pop the gate. We got the rail out, 20 feet
fast,
today.
man.
She is fast. I just think that she's going to go with the rail out and maybe steal this one. You got some great trainers in this race. You know all the stories about Pletcher and Clement. This is where if I can get through this leg, maybe I could steal this Rainbow
Maybe
Six.
you can, because like every strong foundation, and she should run great. I picked her second,
Right.
and she's a must-use. You have some coverage,
Yeah.
so maybe if you get her home, you've gone deep enough in those other subsequent and surrounding legs with Tuesday's Rainbow Six here at Gulfstream West. As we get into the nitty-gritty here with race number 3, and as we welcome you back with some 2-year-old fillies, a $12,500 maiden claimer. Field of 6 post scratches on the turf, Ronnie, at 5 furlongs, and during the interim, that one Monday off, the rail has gone up here at GPW on the turf, 20 feet out from the inside. Now, in your experience here, what does that mean?
It usually favors speed, but you got to watch a couple of these races and see how they play out. You know, we're dealing with a couple of less horses in the race so they can
Sure.
get position, and we'll see how the thing plays out. But good to watch, especially here early on, and it's going to carry on. I would think the rail will stay out over the weekend. So as we go through this 6-day week, something to watch, check out.
Yeah,
So,
we definitely will, and fresher ground, obviously, will be at a premium with that rail out to 20 feet. We'll see how that plays out, because there is plenty of turf racing to go around on the program. And I think if you were going to pick one horse today who's coming out of, if you said, just give me one who had just the worst trip and or worst racing luck last time, who would it be? And I think it would be the number 6, Erotic Kiss. And you're chuckling because you know that's true. And this horse basically packed within the matter of maybe 2 or 3 strides, a career's worth of trouble in her last start back on November 2nd. The boys up in the control room have got her highlighted, and you can't miss the polka dot silks. And this just went from bad to worse, as there is nowhere to go. She lost her action. You saw her take a stumble there. If we could just freeze it for just 2 seconds. Now, she basically, there she is. She's dropped back. She was basically right here, right off the flank of these 2 fillies, and in a matter of literally 3 strides, she's gone from here, having decent position to start to make her run back to here, and ultimately that would be something that was insurmountable for Erotic Kiss. She ran well to pick up the pieces, to cap the super, checking in 4th. I think she looks really good if she can pull anything resembling a cleaner trip today. And by the way, speaking of speed doing well on the turf, November 2nd proved the day. We ran 5 on the turf. 4 of those races were won wire to wire or by the first over outside speed. So I also think she was up against the bias.
She was up against the bias, and she might have been close if she didn't have all that trouble we just showed you. So definitely has to be on your ticket. You saw my Rainbow Six ticket, would not leave her off, but I did go with Power Jack, second in her $12,500 career debut, going 5.5 furlongs, drops, debuts on the turf today. Dual lead along the inside weekend. Got beat a couple of double-digit lengths as the favorite, but it was against better. Gilberto Zerpa, MSC El Jaramillo does a really good job with horses going from dirt to turf. And you get an MSC El Jaramillo, as you mentioned, our leading runner. So I just thought that was the logical two in there. Erotic Kiss gets the trip, wins. Power Jack, a little bit of guesswork, but I think that horse has to be somewhere on your
But
ticket.
if she handles the turf, I feel Erotic Kiss might have a tough time cutting her down, because Power Jack, assuming she handles the turf and likes it, she is going to be speed, assuming she also gets out of the gate in one piece, because she is pretty quick. And Power Broker, her freshman sire, has got 10 winners, 10 two-year-old winners on the season. He's done a good job with this first crop. However, he is still looking for his first two-year-old turf winner. As we get into our little early bird late pick 5, and very fitting for South Florida, as the 4th race rings in the final 5, a 2-year-old maiden special weight, $50,000 purse, featuring a field of 6, and one firster in the form of Daring Ego, who, if this horse is very live, I'm expecting Daring Ego to be very tough. And to see Service, who doesn't use Tyler all that often and has been using Jimenez in his Gulfstream Park West starters up through today, I'm viewing that for Gary and Mary West. That is a big, big check mark. Daring Ego, I'm hoping, anchors this ticket, along with, in race number 7, the number 7 horse in that one, Meant to Be Mine. And if you see the comment, I trimmed Ronnie's top pick, and the other key horse returned to sender reluctantly.
Yeah. I mean, that's how I saw the race with those two were the logical two. And you got the logical singles in here. Now, race 5, as you spread deep, that's where I'm trying to catch lightning in a bottle and try and get one horse to win who's got speed. And a good ticket you put together. In the
Who do you have in the last? Who do you have in the 8th today?
I have in race number 8
That race
today,
really gave me a tough time.
4, 2, and 1, 2, 4.
1, 2, 4. All right.
one.
So no McManaman, the two for me, who's Antonio Sano's only starter on the day. Antonio, by the way, your leading trainer with 14 victories at the meet. I used, obviously, 149 there. But it really, obviously, hinges upon whether Daring Ego can motor in this opening legs. This horse seems to be training, at least on the steady side of things, debuting for Jason Service with a long string of some okay works up at the Jersey Shore.
And then that's what you're going on. I'm at least what I'm going on, and you two have it on the top of your ticket. You mentioned Get Lasix, Tyler Gaffleone, so we'll see how the Russ runs. But I like the fact that you said you like the race that 6 Cotton 2 is coming out of.
I just feel that was about as tough a maiden 50, almost a maiden 50 or a maiden special weight, masquerading as a maiden 50, and he is one to keep an eye on. Now, Miguel Vasquez has got the call on the rail with the 1 King Wildcat. We know the Wildcat Air babies are very good, and we say rest in peace to him. And even though he's gone, his legacy is still very much alive here in South Florida. He has got a number of 2-year-olds that can motor, and you can check out the sales work with this horse back in June when this one breezed a couple of furlongs in 21-3. Nice-looking horse who had some decent action to me. Motoring right along, you might think King Wildcat from the inside post may show some speed. He was a little late on that lead change, but finally bounced over to his right lead and wound up selling Ronnie in this 2-year-old sale for $32,000. And it does feel like, as we watch the gallop out for a second, that Jose Garofalo puts Miguel Vasquez on his live horse.
Yeah, and I really like the way that horse looked. The tail especially, just swishing there. So, a good horse. And on the rail, you're right. You know, Wildcat Airs have been doing great. On the rail, got speed. Maybe this is the horse that steals it. And we all have it on the ticket. I mean, we both have it on the ticket. So, it's a little bit of guesswork, but I would not be shocked if the horse won.
And Mark Cassey has got a fairly pricey Orb 2-year-old in Horoscopo, who will try the dirt today running for the 3rd time.
Yeah, one time I was looking at a couple of stats. I said, oh, Horoscopo, this is going to be the greatest stat. A horse going from synthetic to main track for 2-year-olds, 0. Never did it.
Which is incredible. When you consider the size of his operation.
I was shocked, but maybe these 2-year-olds, you know, because they've changed the surface up at Woodbine. But just the point, I went to do it, and I said, oh, this is going to be a great stat.
Yeah.
You know, he's probably done it a ton of times. 0 with 2-year-olds, that
Interesting. Yeah, no, so that's Mark Cassey, who, again, his frequency in the entries and the shippers that he's running in South Florida seem to be growing exponentially by the passing days. 5th race on the card as we keep it going here, and we'll bring on, in fact, the featured 5th race today. It is a good one. 3-up fillies and mares in this 5-furlong turf sprint. I'm looking at hopefully a meltdown. I certainly respect, speaking of Mark Cassie, who's got Horoscopo in race number 4. They are right back at it with Ronnie's best bet, the 5 Sound Defense, and she has been consistent and she has stepped up her game. I do worry, though, to an extent, with Edgar riding the 7 Crazy About Jazz, if that filly is quick enough to really take a little bit of starch out of Sound Defense and Crazy About Jazz in the process, and hopefully sets this race up for a late run.
Yeah, and I mean, that absolutely can happen because a lot of times you see a horse that's really quick, and if someone looks him in the eye, it certainly does something for these fillies and mares. Now, we were talking about this, and second I have the 4 Blame It on Dixie. I want to show you the stat. This one's dropping to the 25 level, turning back to 5 furlongs, faced better at the championship meet, but I found this interesting. Look at this stat on Todd Pletcher, layoff of 180 days plus, route to sprint on the turf, only 2 for 16, 13%. It's in the money 56% of the time. Measly ROI. It's something that this barn does not do often and doesn't do that well because it doesn't do it very often. So just wanted to point it out. Blame It on Dixie. You see Todd Pletcher. You know this horse is going to take money.
Yep.
Maybe you toss it if you want to make your Rainbow Six.
I saw that stat too, and that it's a tough spot to begin with for her. And she's going to be overbet and underlaid just because it's Pletcher and Tyler
That's what I
Gabb.
meant, yeah.
And when I saw that stat, I said, you know what, I'm going to go in a different direction. And as you can see, a different direction I went. I left her out of my super here in race 5 that I'm hoping, if this race does melt down and Sound Defense and Crazy About Jazz hook up and are crazy about one another early on, maybe Diamond Earring can make a presence here. I feel her turf race and her only turf race was a real step forward in her first start off the claim for trainer Ruben Gracida, who, to be honest, he wasn't a household name in my mind before this meet began. And the work that he's done, clearly pointing, I think, his stock to this 40-day meet, he's impressed me, and I'm looking for her to get back on turf for a barn that's above 30% and looking for her to maybe take advantage of a meltdown in a very hot pace at a nice price.
Yeah, no, good. That's the best part, a good price. And one of the horses, if you're putting that Rainbow Six ticket together and you agree, and it makes great sense, you add that horse to your ticket.
All right.
And maybe you toss Pletcher, which I didn't have the nerve to do.
Well, you got that horse in the second spot, so I like that we disagree a little bit. But again, your best bet, legit best bet in Sound Defense. Now, as we move on to race number 6 today, it's back on the dirt. We stay with the gals. More fillies and mares in this 2-lifetime, $20,000 claiming race in which the more I looked around, and this race is the kind of race. I've got 7-4-1-3. Ronnie's got 3-5-6-7. This is the kind
Who'd
of race.
we leave out? That's who's going to win.
Yeah, well, that's who I'm betting $100 to win on, because that horse is a mortal lock. I looked at Cotton Tuya, who I've got second. The outside horse she's spoiled, and I really feel these horses dropping out of those open 40, 30, 25 claimers, they, at least as far as what have you done for me lately, they haven't won, but they have faced, I think, sizably better horses than they stack up with against today.
Yeah, and I mean, I just went to Ralph Nixon here because I just thought the new dude I'm talking about is returning locally and turning back to 3/4 of a mile. Responded to the addition of Blink, with an improved third-place finish against Simla going 6.5. That was up at Belmont. But look at this daughter, First Dude, has run well on this surface in the past. That was my thought process there because this is so wide open. So I went a horse that seems to like Gulfstream Park West. Maybe I'll use it on the ticket.
Yeah, this is a very, very hard race. I think coverage is needed. I think parity runs through today's 6th race. But again, I really prefer the 4 and 7 with who they've been facing of late. We'll see how your Belmont shipper does for Mr. Ralph. As we get on to race number 7, 3-up filly and mare, $10,000 maiden claimer. Race 6 wraps up the action today, Ronnie, on the dirt. So we are on the turf for both halves of the late double. And although you have 8 entered in the body of the field, I think most people, once they look at the PPs, are probably going to view this, unless they like a big long shot or something that's a little goofy or wacky, they're going to look at this as a 2-horse affair between Return to Senda and the 7 Meant to Be Mine, who both, for their own reasons, just look better than the others.
Yeah, and you know, Return to Senda, you're going to show your last race. Sitting on a winning performance, I thought.
What a loss, too. And I liked her this day, and that's not why I didn't pick her. just because she lost by a nose and had a clear lead. But she is rolling along on the front end for the always dangerous barn of Reed Nagel, and she will lose just a vicious photo. I mean, it says nose. This was a whisker. It was so tight. But she's almost a guaranteed alert breaker, and she's a likely speed, obviously, running back for 10. I mean, she digs. I think she sees this horse on the outside of her blinkers. They hit the wire. And I had watched this race outside, and there were a couple of guys around me who said, don't worry, she won the photo. And I'm going, I don't know, man. That was too close to call. They hung the photo, and she missed by a nose. But she's a huge player today. And what happens, though, something's got to give, because there's a very good chance with her obviously being a very consistent, reliable speed for 10, and then Edgar and Kathleen O'Connell having the drop down meant to be mine. I could see both these fillies hooking up and battling and warring it up, yet they're still, even if they really go heavy on the front end, they could just quite simply run 1-2 around the turf.
1-2, and you know the reason I switched these two around, we have our exacta back. This, you know, meant to be mine, taking a big drop to the 10 level after showing speed and fading late against Tougher. It was on both turf and dirt. Kathleen O'Connell is the daughter of Ken Theros, and the spot where you got to really respect her. But you know the one returned to, I mean the 3 today returned to sender ran so well.
Yes.
I had to put it on top of my ticket, but as you saw my ticket, I used 3 horses, and actually used my long shot, the number 4 in here, the lovely Grace, who I just thought might sit the trip, comes out of a key race. Maybe if that happens, what we saw on paper, maybe this one closes and grab a share. Didn't run badly last time out. 20-1 on the morning line. Here's a horse. If you don't like it to win, you add it on your trifecta or superfecta ticket.
I will. That's a very good point, and I will say, taking a look now at Lovely Grace, I mean a real look, and hearing why you think she can make an impact, that hands down she gives her best effort to date today, and that might be good enough to make some noise here and certainly get a piece of the try, the superfecta, or the high five as we say goodbye with race number 8. Curtain comes down on this Tuesday, November 14th, with the 2-year-old $35,000 maiden claimer at 7.5 furlongs. This race is so wide open. I looked at this race, and as you saw, if you remember my late pick 5 ticket, I went 1-4-9, and I said I'm still not confident. I used basically a third of the field, and I'm hoping one of them, if I'm live, wins. And my top pick, Fledermaus, Michael Yates, the trainer's been going good, and this horse ran fine first out and has a good post today.
Yeah, and Luis Castillo, I like the way he rides. He's got that inside post, a horse I had to use on my ticket, but did go with the horse you have in second on top, and that's Mototan. Turning back slightly to 7.5, return from the freshening. Finished that rallying third against similar, going a mile here. Francisco D'Angelo, Marcos Meneses in the saddle, and just thought this one would sit a nice trip. But I'm in total agreement with you. This one does not have to win, but certainly can win.
I wonder if Vincero, the number 3 here, Colt, the firster by rote, if he's maybe the wise guy live horse. You've got him capping your super. I've got him capping my super. This is an outfit. Doesn't run a lot of horses. Trainer Pedro Castillo. This Northwest stud, though, it seems like they're very shrewd and slick, and I say that complimentary. I'd keep my eye and potentially give this horse a look.
And they train right over here at Gulfstream Park West, across town in our little satellite training track.
Right.
And so they're used to the local conditions. They actually train right on the Gulfstream Park West surface. So always got to give those horses a second look.
So this is a firster essentially competing in its backyard today, right?
Exactly.
All right,
exactly.
Beautiful. We're in our backyard. In fact, we love the action here in Miami Gardens. And again, so good to have you with us. We don't get many Tuesdays to spend at the races with all of you, but that's the story here today. We've got Acacia in the mix and Chris Griffin up in the booth, right?
How many times do you think I'll call it Wednesday today?
My over-under is 5.5, folks, all right? And if you're smart, I take the over. That'll do it for us, Ronnie and I, on a Tuesday, not a Wednesday. We'll see you before the opener. Chris Griffin coming up now with Scratches and Changes.